Welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. I'm Debra Eckerling, author of Your Goal Guide and creator of the Deb Method for Goal Setting Simplified. You can't reach your goals on your own. You need your people. So every week I bring together some of my people to dive into a fun, interesting, informative, or super cool topic. And today it's July, it's summer. We're talking all month long about things that I think are fun, reinvigorating, and what is more fun than connecting with people or reconnecting with people. Wait, I said this way better in the pre-show. So, Robbie, what's more fun than connecting with people?
Reconnecting.
It's reconnecting with fun people. You got to qualify. They got to be fun people, right?
Absolutely. And so Jack Gelley, who I met through a guest who was on a couple weeks ago, that's how quickly we do some turnaround. And Judy, did I meet you through Innovation Women or through Robbie?
I think through Innovation Women, but Robbie's been there too. So,
and unless it's on purpose, my guests don't know each other, but this was too good of a topic, even though you and Robbie do know each other, to not have you both on in the different aspects of connecting and reconnecting. And of course, Robbie Samuels, who I kind of sort of, but not really. Great to have you back and diving into this wonderful topic. You might be watching us as Goal Chat Live or the replay, or you may be listening to us as Goal Chat on the Marketing Podcast Network. So no matter how you found us, we are glad you're here and choosing the goal of connecting and reconnecting. Before we dive in, friends, why don't you introduce yourselves and say why you are so excited, who you are and why you're so excited about the topic. So, Jack, let's start with you. Welcome.
Sure. My name's Jack Gelley, and everybody in their right mind would look at it and say Gelley, but it's Gelley.
Why did you not correct me?
I figured I'd have the opportunity to do it now. No, I think that we're put on this planet to connect with other people and to help other people. And that's the favorite part about my job, is all the cool people I get to meet and the connections I get to make, just like some of the ones I've made for you already. And I hope to do the same thing for you guys.
And what is your job, Jack?
My job is I'm a senior marketing consultant, which is a fancy way of saying advertising sales for iHeartMedia. I love what I do. It's creative, it's fun, it's challenging. I get to meet lots of cool people that are in the spotlight and lots of cool people that aren't in the spotlight. But we do pretty much everything you can imagine that's advertising or marketing, except for billboards and print. And if you need some people that are connected to those areas, I've got those connections for you too. But the biggest thing that we do with audio is make connections with people. And so that's something I'm passionate about.
Awesome. Well, really glad you're here to dive in. And I believe when we were talking, I said, oh, you need to meet Robbie. I'll just have you guys on the show together. So here we are. Yep. Judy, welcome. Great to see you.
Well, good to be here, Debra. I'm very honored to be here. We met through Innovation Women, a platform that promotes women on stage, which I absolutely love. And I'm a psychotherapist who specializes in relationships. I'm very passionate about, I'm all about relationships, and I do write about mental health and relationships. So I'm really honored to be here because relationships are so core to our being. Even when we're born in relationship. Our brains are shaped through relationships. So there's a whole lot of neural pathways, and how we live and do our lives depends on relationships. So anything about relationships, I'm on it.
Awesome. Well, really excited to have you here and covering that important aspect. Robbie, welcome back to Goal Chat. Who
Thrilled
are
to
you?
Be here. Yeah, so I'm a multi-passionate entrepreneur, and there's a couple of through lines no matter what kind of work I'm doing, whether it's in person, virtual, whatever it might be. And that's about relationships and helping people feel like they're included and belong. And so this is a really exciting topic for me. My latest iteration of my business is I produce virtual events for my clients. I also assist with their in-person event strategy to focus on engagement. And I work with entrepreneurs who would like to become successful authors. And I've created a bunch of resources in the last 6 months for them, including the Kindle cross promotion event that's happening next week around Amazon Prime. We have over 75 books included in it. And that's another opportunity for connection and reconnection.
Isn't that really what everything is about, no matter what you do, is
Sure is.
finding, making, and continuing the connection? And I know I'm on your Authors Hub because I not only specialize in goals, but I specialize in helping people figuring out their books and helping them with book proposals to get all those ideas floating around in your head into a plan, not just for your book, but as you as the author getting your ideas out in the world. And it's just it's so much fun, I think, when you are a connector to keep doing those multiple connection-y things, because things are never like one and done. It's always helpful.
Yeah.
No matter what your business is, to stay in touch with people, because as I said at the top, you can't reach your goals on your own. You need your people, and we are each other's people. So what is that power of not just well, let's do the connecting first. What is that value of connecting? And then we can dive into the reconnecting part of that. So Jack, why don't you start us off? What do you see as that value of connecting?
One, relationship. I mean, that's obviously the thing that I get out of it. But I love finding ways to make new connections that help other people. It's like a gift, right? When you're a kid, you love getting things, but when you're an adult, you more love giving things. And I think that when you give an introduction, you give a relationship, you're giving another gift, and that's something I love to do.
Connecting is a gift. I love that. What do you think? You're nodding lots, Robbie, so I'll let you chime in next.
Well, I wrote a blog post about this a long time ago. It was about the moment that I left my day job to become, basically 10 years ago, full-time entrepreneurship. And I wrote that I never felt like I was going out on my own, because even though I was a solopreneur, I had spent the previous decade nurturing relationships. And I believe that your network is an insurance policy, and the same way you pay your monthly premiums for your insurance without wanting to ever use it, you put a little bit into your network all the time rather than waiting for one day and then like desperately looking for assistance. And if you are the kind of person who regularly gives back to your network and you suddenly need something, which you never thought you would, people are going to be there for you. So people really helped me make that transition from job to entrepreneurship. And it never felt like I was just out on my own. And that's the beauty of having strong relationships and being willing to also reconnect with people. It's a big piece of the strategies that I teach my coaching clients and my book launch clients, is this idea of reconnecting with people you haven't talked to in a while. But that's why I'm nodding along. It's totally my jam.
And what do you think, Judy?
Why connected is like absolutely crucial, and it's foundational to our humanity. It matters. I mean, loneliness, isolation is an epidemic. And what we need to make sure is that we are intentional about connecting, and not just surfacey relationships, but having long-term relationships, personal relationships, significant relationships. Yes, I know that there's this avenue of, yes, getting like, there's a broader spectrum of it, but those people to like be known, to be vulnerable, it is like relationships, what I believe wholeheartedly, and I wrote about it also in my book, Beyond Messy Relationships. Relationships are actually mirrors to your soul. So whatever's going on, if you've got a conflict in your relationship, it's telling you something. There's something hidden in your own life that maybe you haven't owned, maybe you haven't grown through, but it's an opportunity for growth. So why connect? It's absolutely crucial for our mental and emotional well-being, and foundational to our humanity.
And then the business stuff. Right. So I love the priority is the personal for the connections. And one thing I believe everybody on this panel, and hope those are tuning in, remember, the Rolodex, that thing where you keep all of your contacts, which is now I think known as LinkedIn. Yes, thank you for the visual of the spinning wheel. When you meet people, you get this great opportunity to develop a relationship with them. The meeting is just the start. It's not the everything. And you can't always be connected all the time to all the people, which is why we have this topic of reconnecting. So it's not just about that first step, it's about all the steps. So let's play with the reconnecting word next. So Judy.
That's great. Yeah, we can reconnect with people. It's important to do that. I think, again, I kind of zero in on like that personal relationships. Like there may be some like estrangement going on, let's say, with adult children or family members. It's important to realize that relationships are always changing, and to always like be open and to have like a beginner's mind, so to speak, because we always live in our history, don't we? Especially when it comes to family. But reconnection with those that are closest to you, like opening the door. I've got to tell you a story real quick. My brother, whom is 8 years younger than me, he lived in Alaska for 18 years. We really hadn't had a whole lot to do with each other as adults, but he sold everything, retired, and moved to Cuenca, Ecuador. And then I ended up visiting in Ecuador for 3 weeks, and it was amazing. But to have this reconnection with my own brother, like, was really special. And I think that's very important on a very basic level.
I love that. And again, bringing the humanity, it's not just about business. And I love, because my show, it's on the Marketing Podcast Network. It's a business show, but all these personal interactions and growth and development, it's all part of making us the whole human to go out in the world.
Is it okay to add something to that, Debra? Because this does have to do with exactly what you're saying business-wise.
Of course.
Because, okay, so I went to Ecuador, right? And I spent 3 weeks there, and I scouted out a retreat center. And so as far as business and personal relationships, so I'm actually planning a retreat. I'm taking 8 women, ambitious women who are in helping professions such as myself, to go and rest, relate, and revitalize. And so there you have it. You got this, family relationship that now has ended up being a business model. And that's what really lights me up, to do retreats and have that closeness and help people through their transformation.
Well, in the helping, that's why we connect and reconnect and develop relationships and be there, because you never know. And because, like the insurance policy, you never know when you need or want or what have you to reach out to people. Jack, whose last name I'm not even going to try to mispronounce again. Why do you love this topic of reconnection? Why is it so important?
I will also share a story that'll kind of bring the reason home. I had a client in 2014, 2015, owned a bunch of mattress companies all over the country. And then he sold his interest in those and we lost touch. So I have a not-for-profit organization I started with a bunch of friends back in 2020 called the Veterans Whiskey Society. We support veterans through a love of bourbon, basically. And we had an event, and this guy came up to me and he said, you look pretty cool. You want to have a beer sometime? I said, sure. He goes, do you like cigars? I go, yeah, I smoke cigars. So he mentions the name of the place, Firehouse. And he goes, well, I work there like couple hours a day, like 3 days a week. Why don't you just meet me there? I said, okay. So I walk in and there's a guy sitting next to him and I recognize the guy's name, but it's one of those things where you're scratching your head going, you look familiar, and he's doing the same thing. Yeah, you look familiar too. I ask him what he does. That's not it. Does he go to church somewhere that I might have seen him? No, that's not it. He goes, well, I used to own a bunch of mattress companies. And I go, that's it. And then we reconnected, and we've been like best of friends for like the last year and a half. He's one of my best networking partners. I make a ton of referrals to him. He makes a ton of referrals to me. And it's that, again, we talk about the gift of reconnecting, right? That's a perfect example of why I love it, why I'm passionate about it, staying in touch with people and being on purpose about it. My mom taught me as a kid, if you want to have a friend, you got to be a friend, right? And so it takes work, it takes effort. And it's the same thing with maintaining relationships with family members, or, I've got friends from high school and friends from college, and, I grew up in Ohio and I'm in Colorado, but we still stay in touch because you take that time and make that effort to reconnect.
I love that. And great story. Don't you love it when you run into people that in the places where you least expect it? I find connectors like us do that all the time in the places we least expect it. I live in LA, and especially right after I moved here, I would run into people that I grew up with in the Chicago suburbs like all the time because we ended up here. And even now, I'll see someone I went to high school with, friends with someone from an entire different corner of my life, and it cracks me up. So it's always fun when we get surprised when people hop back up into our lives. Robbie, why should people reconnect?
I have a tendency to work with mostly entrepreneurial women in their 50s and beyond who are looking to grow their impact or income through some kind of new revenue stream. This is for the coaching and book side of my business. And a common denominator is they're very experienced. They've got 2 or 3 decades of knowing how to do a thing. And they want to share that in a different way than they had been before. They may have been in a job and now they're in entrepreneurship, or they were doing one-to-one career counseling and now they wanted to bring it to books and podcasts and groups. The other factor is that they're feeling angsty about either the tech, the self-promotion marketing, the sales, or they just basically feel like they have no network. And it's such a misnomer because you can't get through to your late 50s in a professional capacity and not have built a network. Now, maybe a network that you haven't nurtured all along. You may have skipped a few of those insurance premium payments along the way, but I show them that they can, in fact, systematically go through either a LinkedIn list, their phone address book on their phone, their contacts, or their email contacts, whatever it might be, and identify people. And the main criteria, before we get into sort of the details, is a 2-part question. Would this person remember my name? And would I be happy to hear from them out of the blue? And I think that when you get past those 2 questions, anything's possible. And so many people are like, oh, I don't really know anyone, or who could I even bother? And I'm like, bother? And that's the whole mindset. I wouldn't want to contact someone. I'm like, well, what if they contact you out of the blue? Well, that'd be fun. I like them. I'm like, great. Well, why not honor them with your presence? So, and it's often people that you haven't talked to in 5 or more years because you haven't had a reason to work together, or it's someone that you used to see annually at a conference. We haven't gone to that conference in a little while. It's these people that are not in our inner circle, but are second and third layers or tiers out. And we just don't often have good systems for maintaining those weaker connections. Yet, as has been shown, that's where our best possibilities lie. No matter what, whether we're looking for a new job, or the lead on a new house that we want to bid on, or we're looking for clients or sponsors or whatever it might be, and getting that mindset shift that you can reach out, and here's how to reach out. It just opens the world to them when you really accept that it will be okay for you to go and reconnect with these people who are these weaker connections. And by the way, I'm 8 years into hosting a podcast where I ask a question of every guest about how they stay in touch with these weaker connections, what habits, philosophies, or practices. And I would say more than half go, I should do better. And these are people that I have selected as leaders in their field. So if you're watching this and you're like, I could do better, most of us probably are feeling the same way. And I just worked with a client to use a stack of index cards because my joke for many years was, I don't care what system, CRM, Google Sheet you use, as long as you use it. It could even be a stack of index cards. And so She is in fact using index cards to keep track of people she wants to stay in touch with. So it's not about fancy anything. It's just about the intention and the follow through.
When I moved to LA, that is how we kept track of people, because I was freelance writing, meeting a lot of people, and the index cards. But this was more than 25 years ago. But whatever work, I'm all about goal setting simplified. So if index cards works, that's what you need to do. If sending, and I'm really mad at LinkedIn, because you used to be able to send a note with every LinkedIn connection request, and now they limit you to 5 a month. But in that case, connect with people as you meet them and then send them a note so you remember and really solidify that connection. I forgot which tangent I was on, but I guess it doesn't really matter. The point is, it doesn't matter. It's important to have a system, whatever that system is. And I love your litmus test is, if you be happy to hear from them, then they're likely going to be happy to hear from you. And that's something that anyone, we'll get into setting reconnecting goals a little bit later on, but let's dive into the how, because great, connecting's fun, reconnecting's even more fun. Great, how do we do it? Jack, what is your recommendation about going through that reconnection process?
Usually if it's somebody I'm reconnecting to, I already have their email or their cell phone. I'll just reach out and say, hey, it's been a while. Why don't we grab a beer or grab a coffee someplace, or, let's reconnect and see how we can be of value for each other. But just the simple reach out of saying, hey, it's been a while, and then, like Robbie said, I'm not reaching out to somebody cold. It's somebody that I already like. They already like me. We've met together a few times, and at least in my business, and I'm assuming for your guys' business too, you meet new people all the time. And so you have to be very on purpose about staying connected with the people that you met a while ago. And so one of my key things is don't go so long that you're not going to remember them, or you're not going to email address. Whenever I meet with somebody, I generally say, before we go, let's put our next meeting on the calendar. And that goes for friends, that goes for clients, for networking partners, whoever it is. But you have to be very intentional about it. Otherwise, it's just easy to let it go too far. And then, life gets too busy. You're like, maybe I don't really want to go meet that person or whatever. If you stay intentional about it and let them know that you really care about them, I think that's the most important thing.
Be intentional, because it's part of the whole process of the whole everything. Robbie, I know you have a ton, but what is your favorite, first step in that reconnection process?
Well, I think it's important to figure out why you're reconnecting. So one of the reasons I'm now working more with authors, besides myself having done this a few times, is that having a book is a really excellent excuse to knock on the doors of people you haven't talked to in a while, because you've just poured your heart and soul and probably my money and lots of time into creating a resource that you believe is really valuable, which I think helps people get over that. It's like angst and inertia. It's about knocking on these doors that you haven't talked to in a while. So you don't need a book to do that, but I think that's probably why I'm now gravitated towards this space. So understand why you're reconnecting, and hopefully you're doing it before you desperately need something. So you could just sort of warm up a group by just making a list. My initial plan, by the way, Deb, was when this is like years ago, I was working with coaching clients, and I said, make a list of 100 people That was the entire exercise. I mean, now it's an entire book, right? But literally it was like, make a list of 100 people. And then I was like, reach out to a few. And magical things started to happen. Like, it's almost like you're thinking about buying a red car and you see a red car. That thing was happening where people were just like starting to pay attention to these connections. And I believe that if you know what you're looking for, serendipity is more likely to happen. So really, like, first, really understanding what you're looking for in a connection. And then, I do tons of Zoom catch-ups. I mean, that's just been a great way of reconnecting with people. I also host group gatherings, whether it's a training or a virtual happy hour or a mastermind. So I host things that allow lots of people to pop in, and it's not like a big requirement of them to be there, but yet we, over time, are having lots of exposure and reconnecting is happening. I think that the most beautiful part that's come of all the horror of the pandemic is that we all have these tools around virtual, where before you would, Jack and I would probably meet at a conference, and then maybe a year later we'd run into each other again.
Right.
And maybe by year 3, we would make plans to connect in between. Right. So it's like now it would be more immediate. We'd be reconnecting. And it's that repeat connection, reconnection. You said something earlier. When you first meet someone, that's not when the relationship starts. It's when one of you says, let's get together again, and then opens up your calendar to find a time.
Right.
Like, that's when I think the intention is set that we should really continue this. And I just think, whether it's someone you just met or someone you haven't talked to in 15 years, if you like the way the conversation is going, then it's worth exploring what can happen next.
Yep. It's funny you used the two words that jog this in my head, attention and intention, right? You need to pay attention, and then you need to do it with intention. And so a networking partner of mine that I've known for about 8 years, she always says, you have to set forth an intention, right? Basically meaning you're being intentional, but you have to put it out there. So if my goal is to meet XYZ CEO, I got to tell people. I have to set forth that intention, because if I don't, then nobody else is going to know that.
Well, the J and the Deb method is determine your mission for a reason. You can't get what you want unless you know what that is. And it applies to so many things, whether it is building your business, the life you want, or even setting reconnection and connection goals. So starting with what you're putting out in the world, it's so important, because as Robbie was saying, that's how you draw what it is that you need. Judy, you want to get in on this?
I do want to get in on this, because all the things that you're saying really align with it's like an acronym for growth, but it also slows down the nervous system. We talked about attention, intention, and then actually reaching out, right? Which is the same as my acronym of breathing fresh air. The A is awareness, and the I is intentionality, and the R is the risk of growth. So that's really what we're talking about here. And I just put it in an acronym because I do a whole lot of guided meditation and deep breathing with my clients, whether I'm on a retreat or working with an entrepreneurial couple. And I do therapy outdoors. I don't do within the four walls of my counseling office anymore, but there's so much in nature that is very healing. So I was also going to share, if you wanted to share, and I'm getting down to business there, Debra, too. So when I go to a conference, I've made it a point to, when I meet people and I have a connection with them, I ask them, is it okay to take a selfie with them? So I have them and I'm there with them, and then put their name up so that I remember. So it's interesting. Recently, I went through my phone and I was connecting with some ladies that I thought might be a good fit for the retreat in Ecuador that's coming up, the exclusive dream retreat. So sure enough, I've got their pictures, and I actually use them in some of my promotional video too. So anyway, it was not really knowing that, oh, this is a method. I was just doing it because how many times do you get a card, a business card or a digital card, and you just, who is this person and where did I meet them? But a picture with them really speaks a lot. And then nurturing those relationships. So that's been a good method for me, as far as, beyond the 3x5 cards or spreadsheets. I do not like spreadsheets. I'm sorry, but I know I have to learn how to like them. But I do have a CRM system, and I have an email list, and, nurturing, and not even thinking them as a list, but nurturing the people, what they need, and giving, which I know that, Robbie, you're all about that as well. So another thing, one of my, I'll call it a growth stretch of what I'm going through, is being more intentional about paying attention and really celebrating other people's wins. If they've got a book out, I really want to show up for them and say, hey, this is so cool, and just not, so yes, I've got my 2 books, but I want to make sure that, I'm recognizing them, because that really connects people a lot.
I want to go back to great points. I want to go back to the photo thing, though, because the added bonus of that is the memories you get either through your phone or through some of the social media sites. Remember this day. And it's a great tickler to be like, how can it be this? And some of them, they come up 7 years ago. Well, great, even better. 7 years ago is even better than 1 year ago, because it's reminding you that it's time to send a hi, how are you, to whomever.
I was just thinking about it as you were saying this. Facebook does a really good job to remind us who our friends are and how long we've been friends with them, right?
And one of the things, and going back to what Robbie was talking about a bit ago, what's your favorite way to reconnect with people? If I haven't seen a friend in a while, I'll just invite them on the show.
I love that, Debra. I love that you do that and I miss doing that because I had a podcast I've got 50 episodes, Better Relationships, Better Life. Did my first season. And that really lit me up because I'm having these conversations with other marriage and family therapists and other entrepreneurial couples. And it's such valuable conversations. But anyway, so talking here makes me want to start season 2 sooner than later.
Another thing that I started doing, though, which I think bears mentioning, is I started getting, in the last couple of years, strangers reaching out, I want to be on your show. And I'm like, this is great, but I'm bringing my friends together. You want to be on my show? We need to be friends. So once a month, I do a meet and greet. And this way I could tell my guests or people who write me out of the blue, if you know someone who'd be a good fit, bring them along, because that's the other way to expand your network. And Robbie does these all the time, is to have these events where it's an opportunity for conversation. It's an opportunity for connection. And I think somebody wrote me and said, oh, well, I've been on this many shows, so if you want me on, you have to book me from that. And I say, well, thank you. No.
Oh.
I don't know how to transition out of that one. So let's go a little bit way back here, because the other part of the reconnecting, it's summer is when they do family reunions, they go on vacation or staycation. What about those people? And I love your example with your brother, Judy. What about those people who were in your life and then magically disappeared, that you want to, say, okay, it's time to do some digging and find where some people landed and reach out? So do we have any recommendations for unearthing people that have been out of your life a little bit too long?
Start as LinkedIn.
I look to see every now and again, I look at who I texted a message to about a year ago. And I just think if you just sort of regulate, like when you have a little bit of downtime, rather than just scroll randomly on Facebook or something, but you just kind of you go back, about a year, and you just see what texts you've been having. That's been a way for me to surface some people, and it's about finding a way to write a message via text, because text feels also much like I have to have there needs to be a reply, right? But I kind of say like, hey, you popped in my head, wondering what you're up to. If it's busy right now, no worries. Hope that we get to reconnect sometime soon. And so it's like finding a way to reconnect, but also let them off the hook. They don't feel like they have to stop everything and pick you up by the side of the road or something. No alarm bells. And I have a friend who does that a lot, and he constantly reconnecting with people. Something he's really, really good at. So it's something I try to emulate.
Nice. Well, again, good to have a system, whether it's a spreadsheet, which I actually love. And I'm networking ambassador for Women's National Book Association San Francisco chapter. Yes, I live in LA. Yes, I'm on the board of a chapter in another city. But we'll do these guest books, so that way people can go back after the event and catch up with the people who were there, to make sure that they make those LinkedIn connections. And now that we can't always send a note with all of them, look at the day, write the dates of the events you're doing. So when you're going back to when you connected with people, you're like, oh yes, we met at this thing. Robbie?
So specifically to LinkedIn, because Jack mentioned LinkedIn, whether you send a note when you're first sending a connection request, I always send a note. I tend to 9 out of 10 times I'm accepting a request, not sending one.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it's even 10% that I've sent, and mostly I'm accepting. But I always try to figure out where I might have known someone. So like my first conversation with Judy would have included Innovation Women. My first, when Jack and I connect, we'll talk about how we met through you, and we're on this show. And if you're consistent with the kind of wording you use, I can now pull up all the Innovation Women members that I've met in one time if I wanted to reach out to a whole bunch of them before like maybe an upcoming meeting. Or I also, if I met certain people at a certain event and that event's about to happen again, I can just pull up all the people who were at the event last year and then a few months before, just intentionally send little notes saying like, oh, I'm definitely going to be organizing some meals and some drinks while we're there. Are you going to be going this year? And, you know, it's just that little, like, again, Judy, you don't need to use spreadsheets. I'm going to give you all the examples. I happen to love a good Google.
I know you're masterful at this, Robbie.
Yeah,
I've learned so
Google
much
Forms and Google Sheets galore, but you don't need them, and you don't need to pay. My CRM, which I finally started using one again, is called Less Annoying CRM, and it costs $15 a month. 15.
Oh my gosh, I need to get on board. I only
started using it because it has the pipeline feature that helps you track people through a series of sequence of steps. And so now I've got all these little pipelines and make sure that I'm following up, because it's like one thing. So if you would introduce me to Jack, Deb, I would have written right away. But if Jack was busy and didn't hop on my calendar, I would lose sight of that. So that's why I've now got this pipeline piece. So I kind of circle back a month later and be like, oh, we never closed the loop. And then I'll find the email and I'll bounce it back again. But again, none of this requires spreadsheets unless you like that kind of thing.
I don't.
Having a system and keeping to it is really the message here, Judy.
Yeah, that's great. I'm gonna follow up with you, Robbie, for sure. Get on, figure this out.
So, Jack, what do you think? What sort of systems do you put in place in terms of making sure you're staying in touch?
I have a calendar reminder for an hour every morning to make sure I go back and look through all my contacts. And then on my desktop, I just have a file folder of networking partners. And then in each one, I've got a CV about them, who they're looking to meet, how do we meet, what do we know about each other, and then use that information to go back out and reconnect with that person.
All simple, all manageable. And I loved your reconnection story, Jack. I'm wondering if Judy and Robbie have a wonderful blast from the past type of reconnection through these kinds of activities.
Judy, do you have something?
I do, but I'm like hesitating to say it. I'm a therapist, right?
Well, your brother's story was kind of cool.
What's that?
Your brother's story was pretty cool.
Oh, yeah, that brother story was really good. But anyway, okay, I'll say it in a very general way, because it was really a profound moment in which I was with someone for the first time as a therapist, right?
This is fun.
Well, I gotta be careful. But the eyes looked so familiar, and so like, okay, she's like, well, I'm gonna just make up a number. She was like in her 50s, let's say. Well, no, not that old. Anyway, so I didn't.
Wait, did you just say someone in their 50s was old? I think we're gonna come back to you on
what
that.
I'm saying is like the story goes like this. I was her therapist. Little did I know at the first session that I was actually her piano teacher when she was like 5 years or 8 years old, something like that. It was like so sweet. And I mean, we brought that out and everything, but that was an amazing reconnection. So there you have it.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's great.
A good one.
Yeah.
Okay, Robbie, top of that one.
Yeah, I don't know if anything comes particularly into mind. I feel like the biggest. So I'm openly trans, and most people might probably know that who've been watching my story over time. And so I had this moment where I actually in the 90s had a web presence using my old name when no one had a web presence. I was making websites, I was creating content way back when. And so I had to let go of all of that and start over again. And then there came moments where I had to like reintroduce myself. And there was this conference that I had gone to for many years, and I found out there was an opportunity to work for this woman who was the conference director. And I'd always gone to the end of the conference, like meet with the director, give feedback session in the 90s. So now it's 2004. So like a decade has gone by. I've not really, I haven't stayed in touch. And I tell colleagues of mine that I want this role, but I don't think she's going to know who I am. And even if you try to describe who I am, she's still not going to know who I am because I don't live where I used to live. I don't have the same gender or the same name. But the two people both reached out and basically said, and she remembered me. And I got to work for her in 2004. And so I guess I did have a reconnection story. There you go. So extrovert.
And leave it to you to like give the extreme. I was a completely different person, and I was
like,
yeah,
and I don't know when this is gonna work. Like, I was like, I would love to work for her, and then I got a chance to do that. So yeah, there's actually, I'm turning 50 this year, in my high school alumni Facebook group. Someone started a like then and now picture thing, and I saw someone wrote like, I know Robbie's gonna win, but let's at least play the game. But I think like
you had that picture to show right now.
Yeah, reconnecting, and to me was like a bigger deal. Like I didn't want to leave that past behind. So you have to make a decision in those moments to not do that. So yeah, I mean, I'm glad that I had the opportunity to do that. It's a good experience.
That's a really good story,
Yeah,
and a good
story.
example. And it's like, if I can what's your excuse, right?
Yeah, seriously. Like, what is your excuse? Those of you who are watching, like, I had to go through every hoop.
Oh, wow.
Amazing. Okay, so we've got a little bit more time before we get into the goals. So what is, and I'm all about networking goals. I have an article about setting them that I'll put in the recap, which you can get at thedebmethod.com/blog. But let's talk a little bit about deepening those relationships. So it's not one and done. Reconnecting is about continuing. So Jack, because I love these anecdotes, what's a good way to nurture these long-term relationships? Because again, insurance, you never know.
Yep. I think just setting forth to be of value to somebody. How can I be of utmost value to you? And a lot of times I'll even ask that question, and people go right to like, even especially if it's a business contact, they go right to business. And I'm like, no. I said, if I could be of utmost value to you, what would that look like? And if a lot of times it throws people off because you're like, I never thought about that. Well, that's a great question, right? Just like my favorite question when I'm meeting somebody for the first time is, who are you? And everybody 9 times out of 10, they dive right into, well, this is what I do. I said, no. I didn't ask you what you do. We'll get around to that. I asked, who are you? Like, what drives you? What motivates you outside of work? What do you like to do for fun? What is your family situation? Who are you as a person? And then that helps me remember that person and to be more intentional about, okay, here's some people I can connect them to. I know they like whitewater rafting. Well, I used to be a guide, so I can connect them to these people, and I'm all sorts of stuff. It's just, but set forth setting forth an intention to be of utmost value to people.
Great. And Jack, who are you?
It's a great question. So I'm a dad. I'm a follower of Jesus. I'm a husband of 32 years this Thursday. I'm a musician. I like to do everything you can imagine outdoors, hunting, fishing, climbing 14ers. I live in Colorado, guys, so in case you didn't know that. I'm a well-rounded person that loves life.
Well, you kind of have to, right, to be in your line of work. And I got to hear your origin stories on how you ended up being the one who connects through the business that you do. You always have a way and a means and a reason to have a conversation. So good on you and a happy anniversary.
Thank you.
Judy, who are you? I love this question.
Oh, yeah, boy. It can be a deep question, because everything, Jack, that you described are the things that like are your roles in life, who you really are at the essence of your being. I'm deeply loved. I'm beloved by God. That would be the very core essence. But yeah, there's a whole lot of layers to me. I've had 40 years of marital experiences to 2 separate husbands, not at the same time. Bore 4 children in that first marriage. They're all adults, and 3 of them are parents. And so I have 5 wonderful and awesome grandchildren, ranging the oldest being 15 and the youngest is 5. So, and I absolutely love international travel. I love relationships. I was just at the core of my being, I'm a relational person. I've been trying to figure out relationships all my life. So that would be the who are you, I guess. But the who are you too, I think for all of us, we're still growing. We're not like, okay, so for example, Jack, you'd been married for 32 years. Likely you've had several different marriages within that 32 years, right? Like you're not the same person that you were as a groom. And rightly so. We evolve, we grow, and that's the way it should be. And so we're totally, I like Michelle Obama's book, Becoming. We are becoming.
My wife and I say all the time that a lot of marriages don't make it because they don't allow the other person to grow. They wanted to be married to the person they married when they were 23 years old. Well, guess what? Now you're 45 and you've had life experience, changes your perspective on things.
And
which is
which
is a nice lesson to the reconnecting. Maybe your relationship is not going to be the same as the former colleagues, peers, whatever that you reach out to, but it doesn't mean it can't be something different or better.
Yep.
We're all different people. We're all growing and exploring and loving life, if you're doing it right. Robbie, who are you? I know, but
I'm a person.
I'll let you tell me.
I'm a person that will say yes only if I want to do something, and then will do it without being asked. There you go. That's all you need to know.
Love it. This has been such a wonderful conversation, and now we get to gift everyone.
Wait.
What?
Deborah, who are you?
Yeah.
Thank you, Jack.
I'm the cheerleader. I am the one who wants everybody to be fulfilled and happy in some, if not all, of their lives. And the way I do that is by giving inspiration and motivation, letting people know that the life they want is theirs for the taking. It's a choice. Thanks for asking.
Love it.
So anyway, goals. Robbie, what goal would you like to gift?
If you're trying to get an offer of some kind off the ground, or you want to make sure lots of people see your TEDx talk, or you're launching a podcast, or you're launching a book, my recommendation is that you look within your existing network, because you've already met 80% of the people you need to know to be successful. A non-scientific fact. I have a process of how to do that by looking for and discovering likely prospects and likely referral partners. And if you're trying to start from scratch to figure out what your next offer is, you can talk to like 25 people in 6 to 12 weeks and get so much information that you need to create exact solution that people want to buy, and a way you can truly help people, rather than trying to build something alone and then come out to the world and the world's like, oh, what is this? I don't know you. I don't need this, which is so frustrating as an entrepreneur. So my second book, Small List, Big Results, has a ton of free content that comes with it before you don't have to buy the book. But if you go to smalllistbigresults.com, one of the resources is the Wake Up Your Network workbook, which will walk you through the process that I'm describing to discover those likely prospects and referral partners. And I can't wait to hear the results to happen, because when you start to intentionally reach out to people, people will start to see that who aren't even on your list, and you'll start to having lots of serendipity moments. It's really wonderful.
So the goal is to wake up your network
for whatever purpose they have. Yeah. Like
I love that.
Don't just like, I don't know. I feel like a lot of people wish things to happen. Oh, I wish more people, hired me, bought from me. I wish I could find a job. It's about action, not just intention. So I think being intentional about reaching out to people. The other thing I will say is, if you're in a funk, go help 5 people.
Yep.
Because if you go help 5 people, you're going to no longer be in your funk, and good things will start to roll to you. Just get out of your own way. So that's another way you can use reconnection as a goal.
Yep.
I love that, because then it goes back to, if you're happy to hear from them, they will be happy to hear from you. Doing from others brings good energy into your life.
Yep.
Which is that affirms that relationships are mirrors to you. Or mirrors. There you go.
So, Judy, goal.
The goal that I want to gift. Here's what I think is extremely important to realize, and I work mainly with ambitious women who are in helping professions such as myself, other therapists, other people in the healthcare, medical, anytime, or even entrepreneurs. You guys are included too, okay? But here's what I believe is that how you can gift. I would like to give you a gift, a goal gift, I guess is what we're doing, is to make sure that you care well for you. Plan a retreat once a year to nurture your own soul, because in nurturing yourself, then you're able to give out of that flow to others. I've seen so many that get burnt out, work, and take in so much. And that's why we're going to Ecuador in September, just to get away and to get out into a different culture, into the Andes Mountains, and breathe fresh air. So that would be my recommendation or goal gift.
Okay, I'm going to modify it a little, just a little, but to take care of yourself so you're the best, you're your best self when you are connecting and reconnecting with others.
Right. And I'm saying that goal being a once a year retreat, at least. Do something outside of your space.
Yes, but I'm trying to, you're misreading the assignment.
Oh,
what is something that they can do right now today to re-energize themselves? So once a year, do something big, but in the meantime, do small things.
Imagine it. That's what you can do right now, is imagine it. Yeah.
Jack, what goal do you want to gift?
My goal to gift would be to be more vulnerable, intentionally more vulnerable. The reason I say that is I love the phrase, if you want to impress somebody, show them your successes. If you want to impact somebody, show them your failures. Mm-hmm. Being vulnerable builds trust. It helps people open up to you immediately instead of being guarded, and let them into your life, let them into what's going on in your situation. Obviously, you have to be a little careful with who you're vulnerable with, but I think that so every year I get a different word from God. This year is margin. Last year was vulnerability, and it really helped me to make a lot of great connections, because I was not afraid to say, "Hey, here's the situation I'm in right now," or "Hey, this quarter has been a really crappy quarter," or whatever, and here's why. And then just being vulnerable, people open up to you, and you build real and genuine relationships that way. So my goal to gift would be to be more vulnerable.
I love that. And I especially love your caveat, be careful. You don't want to be vulnerable with everybody.
Right.
But an awareness that you can infuse vulnerability within certain conversations is going to, and I know you don't do this to pay off, but it will pay off with a deepened relationship with others. Oh, this has been so much fun. Friends, where can people learn more about you and all that you do? Jack?
It's Jack Gelley at iHeartMedia.com. LinkedIn, Facebook, I'm out there.
Excellent. And I will also put your iHeartMedia.com link along with your LinkedIn link in the recap, which again is thedebmethod.com/blog. Judy, where can people learn more about you?
Yes, go to judycounselor.com. And I do have a little tab where you can get some free resources like a relationship stress quiz, a communication quiz, and you can get some other things that will help you in your relationships. So I'd love to have you connect.
Awesome. And Robbie?
I'm a multi-passionate entrepreneur. I do a ton of things. You will find all of them at robbiesamuels.com.
Excellent. And as I said before, I'm at the Deb Method everywhere, and you can subscribe at the Deb Method on YouTube and subscribe to Goal Chat on iTunes and or your favorite place to listen to podcasts. And if you need a little bit of a push or nudge or pom-pom in the right direction, you can learn more about what I do at thedebmethod.com/goals-with-Deb, or grab a copy of your goal guide, a roadmap for setting, planning, and achieving your goals at your favorite place to buy books. And again, what I said before, your life, your choice, your goals, you can't reach them on your own. You need your people. So why not be each other's people?
Yep.
And what final thought then, guess, would you like to leave people with today? Judy, final thought?
My final thought, first of all, thank you so much, Debra, for having us. And my final thought is, you know what? You're so worth it. Those that are watching, it is worth it to set some goals, to be aware, to be intentional, and to take those risks of growth and to connect and reconnect. So make sure you do that, because you are worth it.
I think it's something, talk about those affirmations people could use every day. You are worth it, I think, is like one of the top ones, because when you believe truly that your life gets to be better, then your life gets to be better.
Absolutely.
Like that.
Jack, final thought?
So is it okay to cuss here?
PG-13.
Yeah, PG-13.
PG-13.
Okay. So
use your judgment.
I'll say making stuff up, right? It's just as easy for you to make stuff up bad as it is to make stuff up good in your mind. If you're starting to make stuff up bad in your mind, flip it, right? Because it's just as likely that something good is going to happen as something bad is going to happen. So why not focus on what the good possibilities are?
Ooh, it goes back to that old quote, whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right.
Yep.
So wonderful. Because your mind's going to go place anyway. Might as well make it scenic, right? Robbie, final thought to you?
I'm going to reiterate what I said earlier about how, if you're looking to do something, you're looking for help, you've already met 80% of the people you need to know to be successful. It's not about networking to just grab lots of business cards. We're not going to get any better in this life by having stacks of business cards, and they won't help us, accomplish anything. But if you make an effort to reconnect, whether it's with someone you just met last night or someone you haven't seen in 5 or 15 years, that's where the gold is. So spending, much more like the 80-20 rule, spend 80% of the time reconnecting and 20% of your time meeting new people strategically is going to get you where you need to go, regardless of what that is. And maybe someplace you didn't even know you needed to go, which is the other cool part.
Well, that is really the cool part of the whole intention. To get what you want, you need to know what that is. When you know who are, the question that was asked earlier, and you put more of that out in the world, you do draw all of the good. And I love your scientific/unscientific percentages, because meeting people is great, but the gold is in the re-meeting over and over again, and finding your people and developing the relationships and see how you bring value to each other.
Love it. Thanks for having us here.
Yes, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you all so much, Jack Gelley, Judy Herman, and Robbie Samuels, for joining me today. Thank you for tuning in, whether you're watching us live or watching the replay or listening to us as the Goal Chat podcast. We are glad you're here, pursuing your goals, meeting and re-meeting the people, 80% or so, who can help make that life you want a reality. So set those networking goals, go on out there, go for it, because we know you can do it.